Are you ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth. Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be with you today. I hope that wherever you are in the world, that life is treating you well and that all is unfolding beautifully in your journey. Now, we know that doesn't always happen. We also know that there are devastations that happen in our lives, whether it is losing someone you love, or the end of a job, or a devastating health crisis. We all face different situations like that in our lives. And how do we bounce back, and how do we reframe what happens to us in our lives so that we're not victims, but that we are realizing that, there's a greater gift from this devastation that I can learn from. And that's what this show topic today is about. The guest I'm going to introduce you to, which I'm super excited, she's from Ireland, and she's with us right now, streaming from Ireland. And that's one of the things I love so much about having podcasts and being able to connect with people from around the world. And people from around the world can actually tune in and listen at the same time. So it's really cool. Celine O'Donovan is a native of Galway City on the west coast of Ireland. Following a successful international career in marketing, she's now a published author. This change in direction was accelerated by personal lessons that Celine learned after her diagnosis, there it is, with breast cancer and its aftermath. Her message is nothing happens by chance, and all life events are sent to spur spiritual growth and enable us to fulfill our individual gifts. This reframing of how we see our lives now shapes Celine's writing. Her mission is to create personal and practical epiphany moments that allow her readers to discover this for themselves. Welcome to the show today, Celine O'Donovan. Nice to have you.
Thank you very much, Kornelia. Delighted to be here talking to you.
Great. So, wow, what time is it now in Ireland? I always like to acknowledge
It's 6 p.m., so we're coming to the end of the day. It's still lovely and bright, but yeah, 6 p.m. on a Friday evening.
Good. And how has your week been this week? Has it been very busy, very hectic? How is your week?
Yeah, everything I'd say rolled into 1 week, really. Very busy, lots of interviews, lots of work. I'm still writing. I've gone back and I'm training in Reiki. So I'm sort of really broadening out sort of the holistic life that I want to live and the work that I want to do. Also, I feel energetically, I'm sure we're all feeling it. We're coming up to two big eclipses, a solar eclipse and a lunar eclipse. So I have to say, I've sort of been doing my best to ride the waves of the energy, but it's reminding me of, riding the waves in your life. It's amazing. Every time I think, oh, I have it now, something else happens. So it's sort of very reminiscent of life, because I felt that very intensely this week. But I sort of feel like the tools, cancer and everything I've been through I'm really learning to put them into practice and in my life now to step into who I really am. And I think we're all being called at this time on the earth to do that.
Yeah, congratulations. That's, stepping into your gifts That's a huge celebration, a victory, and we know that that hasn't been an easy path,
No,
right?
no,
That hasn't been an easy path for a lot of those of us that have been diligently, doing the work. And that's why I'm saying, the eclipse energy right now is a perfect time again for releasing and letting go of
yes.
what's not working, and also moving into, the higher alignment of what it is that is next for you in this stage in your life. And the
Mm,
people that have been listening and doing that deep shadow work, that deep soul work, those people I feel like are great in riding this wave, like you, like
mm,
myself, like people that are, self-aware. Now it's the people that aren't self-aware of what's happening in our evolution, right? What's going on, and returning back to those spiritual gifts that you were talking about, that, remembering who you are, stepping into that. But I just
mm,
want to acknowledge that, you said you had a great week. You did interviews, you're writing, you're doing Reiki, you're going more into your gifts. I feel
mm.
this is such an important celebration to inform the collective field of what it is that you are doing and celebrating, because you're informing everyone around you. I just got the chills by saying
Me
that.
too, me too. Literally, when you said it, my
Wow.
God, the chills came through me. Oh my God, still are.
I know, me too. So,
Whoa,
oh my God, that is like, wow.
that is
So
well.
that is wow. So that means that you're informing the field, you're letting the universe know
Mm,
what you're ready for. I did interviews, I'm doing writing, I'm doing Reiki,
mm,
I'm ready, I'm
mm,
stepping into my
mm,
gifts, I'm going more the holistic route. There's all the areas that bring me nurturing and healing,
yeah,
right? It sounds like
yeah.
that's what you were doing. And I just want to mirror that back to what I heard you say, and I think this is such a fabulous new beginning for you, and also for all the people that you touch, you know, um, because when it comes down to it, every person is that beacon of light when they really fully own their gifts. And you certainly are owning your gifts.
Thank you. That's so beautiful, and I really appreciate that. I really felt it, and it's very interesting. I'm delighted that we're talking today because another side of that, my book is called Gifts from the Devastation. So you've got both there. I didn't want to diminish the devastations that we all go through. One of mine is cancer. I've had others. We all have or will experience some form of devastation. But it's also to acknowledge the gifts if we are ready to look at life. I was finally ready to look at life in a different way. Um, but I found today, and I will say it because I think this is part of it, in shedding the layers, like when we choose, as you said, to do this inner work, because, I knew this calling was there. And when cancer happened, I literally, after the shock, just went, relief, and many people often find that hard to believe that, I wasn't relieved I had cancer. I was relieved I could stop because I knew that I wasn't living in accordance with with who I really was any longer. I hadn't been for quite a while. And we all get the wake up calls, we all get they were coming at me fast and furious. I had a car accident. I'd, literally hit a wall. You couldn't get much more direct than that. But as I've been going through, sorry, just to bring it back, even to this week, I was going, the expansion you go into. So I felt I've been really embracing my gifts and doing the work, but then as you sort of expand another layer, I just keep going, we're going down through the layers. And I really felt it in the last few days. I was like, whoa, I'm into something else here again. I thought I had shifted this. So, I know, and I've been doing the work, and the Reiki is probably bringing it up more. And I do a breath work. So I have a lot of practices to support me. So I'd say that to any of your listeners. Once you choose to do this, it isn't always easy, but you have the tools, and the support is there, the people are there, because there are so many of us on this path now.
Now,
Yeah, now. Yes, Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
can I ask, I was going to ask you, before you started talking about
Yes, sorry to go
what
back.
cancer happened. No, it's really fine that, because obviously it's this is the point, because I was going to ask you, so when you received the diagnosis, I think this is an important piece to also acknowledge, that when you received the diagnosis, how many years ago was that?
That was 2016, so it's 6 years ago.
Okay, so 2016, not that long ago,
Mhm,
you were going on, you were in the hamster wheel, still chasing,
mhm,
um,
mhm,
the, the dream that you thought was your dream, but you were still chasing in that hamster wheel, right? And
mhm.
then when you received the diagnosis, you said you felt a relief.
Yeah.
That's profound, because
Mhm.
it is almost like the cancer gave you a permission to stop.
Absolutely. Yes. That's exactly how it felt. I say to people, it was like the first time my life made sense, which might sound strange, but nothing made sense for the few years before, because I was doing what the system and how I'd been conditioned and programmed, as we all are, and I was doing what I believed were all the right things. I had the great career, I had the house, I had all of these things that if you looked at me like we look at everyone else, and say, my gosh, they have the dream life. And there was nothing wrong. I'm not saying there was anything wrong. There were some great times in my life as well. But it was, it had reached a point where I really felt I was suppressing. All I can say was like I was suppressing. I could feel the pot was starting to boil over. I wasn't expressing, that had been a pattern in my life, who I really was. I suppressed a lot of my emotions. I suppressed creativity. I didn't even understand any of this and my true nature. And I think there is a time comes, there is a cost, obviously, to suppressing the human spirit, but there is a time comes when you can no longer do it. And that's what cancer was showing me. This is, so that's why it made sense, because I've always had a very strong connection to who I really am. I did as a very young child, but I sort of shut it down. But I've always been, I always, you knew the mind, body, spirit connection, everything was there. So, but I have, because I had got on that hamster wheel and this is the way I have to live. Um, so when cancer came in, I was like, I understand it. This is my body. This is where that this is where everything manifests. It has to show up somewhere. And to me, it was my creative energy that I had suppressed, who I am, who we all are, creation in a physical body, spirit in a body. And that had to go somewhere. So it grew inwards.
That's
And
it.
yeah.
That's it. And that's really where it begins, and I mean, when we look back at, like, the last, let's just say the last 50 years, the last 100 years, what was the conditioning and the modeling of our society? Well, the conditioning and the modeling of our society is, don't be too bright, don't
Mhm.
talk too loud, don't shine too bright, don't take up too much space. Who do you think you are? All these uh, words from our past, from our ancestral lineage, and no blame here. They were all doing what they were
Mhm.
conditioned to do, all fine, all good. But
Mhm.
that's what we have to undo. And
Yes.
that's what we have to undo. And when we really fully then receive the call to undo the programming, the healing can begin, and we can come back from the horrible devastations of an illness, and then
Mhm.
allow our physical body, if we choose to stay here and still live and understand, right? Because you had to then work with what you had here. When you stopped, you had to actually look at what was this message showing you, aside from the suppression of emotions, because now we have to really go in and look at what is the breast.
Mhm. It's about, yeah.
Is the suppression, why did I choose this organ to
Mhm.
suppress my emotions in here? Why did I what why
Mhm.
did I why did it go there? What
Yeah.
is cancer? What
Mhm.
is the breast? What does it all mean? And if you
Mhm.
don't have the negative beliefs suppressed in the breasts or anywhere else in the body, then the breasts are a self-nurturing,
Mm,
loving
mm.
part of your body that is there for a reason, right?
Yeah.
So not suppressing any emotions in there in the body. So that must have been hard. You also mentioned something about how you got in a car accident. I'm curious as to, because you mentioned the word wake up call.
Mhm.
And so a lot of times, when people are finding themselves in the situations, you you said that the wake up call was something obviously the universe was communicating to you prior to. So when did the car accident happen? Before or after cancer?
Oh, before, about a year and a half before. Um, and even before then, there were many warning signs. I mean, I could talk about them all day, but they were gradually getting louder, as we know. Now, I had a marriage breakdown many years before, which I believe, it was the first person I met. I often talk about it. It was back when it was back in 2002. So 20 years ago now that we broke up. But we were very much soulmates when we met, and we both said we saw the light. We literally saw the light in each other, and it was the first time we'd seen it in someone else. It was a very strong connection. And I believe we had that. It was nearly just, I feel I had that to sustain me in what was going to be many difficult years ahead, because I sort of descended after that into a very dark place. And many people, I looked fine on the outside. This is what for people watching or listening, just to know this, we all look, I was functioning, appeared to be functioning, but I had severe anxiety. I now know I was depressed for many years. I didn't even know I was depressed until someone said it to me later. I used alcohol, I really abused alcohol for a number of years. I had a lot of stress. I was overworking. So I sort of was doing, always just sort of, and running away from what I was feeling, that all, there was big work that had to start happening, even in the lead up to cancer. I did a lot of healing work, and I think that helped me because I had huge releases of trauma and pain and things I'd, really shut down. So I was very grateful for that before cancer, because it would have been an awful lot on top of everything else to deal with.
Yeah.
But it was only the beginning, and it's still ongoing. So all of that was building in my body. I could feel it, I could literally feel it, and I could feel the fumes. It's so interesting. It was a car accident, because I can remember that feeling of I'm running on fumes. I was literally feeling about a year before that someone had a drain, like was draining the energy from me.
Right.
And so when you talk about the breast as well, I had a whole imbalance in giving, receiving. I had
Yeah.
no boundaries,
Yeah.
all of the, you
Wow.
know,
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
life force leaking out. And
exactly.
I even got right now when you were talking that there was actually energy vampires around
Mm,
you sucking
mm,
life force
mm.
energy out of you.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I received while you were
Years ago.
speaking was, would you also say, like, for me personally, I'm one of those kinds of people that I had to learn how to be a woman again.
Mm,
And I had to learn how to embody the feminine energy of receiving and intuiting and allowing and being. And that had as much value in my life as the doing part. So because I also was very assertive in my energies of, very 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 highly professional in when I was in the matrix and
yeah.
did a lot of fabulous things, and that was all really good. But then when I had to really learn how to become a woman again and
Yeah.
learning how to rest and nurture and be, and not so much of the doing part, it
Mhm.
sounds like, many of us are A-type personality where, we're very much in our masculine energy, and we had to learn how to become woman again. And that begins with knowing how you're feeling
Mm,
and feeling to heal
yeah.
what is out of balance, feeling to heal. And it sounds like that is what you were embarking upon in this last decade.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting when you say that, and it's still ongoing for me, that whole, I mean, it's no accident I got breast cancer on the right hand side in my male, the
Oh,
male energy channel. And I was very much in that survival independent, as you said, as you described yourself, they're exactly that. Didn't feel, had shut all of that down. And it's been such a wonderful, and it's still ongoing. I still have to, I'm still in that balancing and learning. I can still, when the old, when the old patterning and stuff can still come up, in the old reflexes. And if I can go back into that, which I was this week. It was very interesting. I hit it, do, and I felt my body saying, no, it literally just stopped me. And like that, I'd come back, just coming back into feeling again. And that's been the greatest gift of this time, like you described, the creativity. My intuition has come back online. All of that, the softness. It's still, it's sort of, it's over and back, but it's coming towards balance. I wouldn't say it's in balance. And it's a fluid, it's a flow over and back, isn't it? It's not stationary. We're always in flow and movement.
yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell that you're in your spiritual gifts, and you're in your beauty, you're in your softness, you're in your energy, you're in your healing, you're in your medicine, you're in your woman, you're in your spiritual gifts. I can feel that. So I can feel that coming from you, because of what it is that you're talking about and the connecting of the dots. And that's what we
Mm,
want to leave, you, the audience, with today, that if you are
mm,
devastated by an illness, it doesn't matter if it's cancer or whatever the illness is, but there is something that happened at the original cause that caused that dis ease to be stored
mm,
in the body, and that's the place to go look and work with practitioners, healers, whoever
mm,
the people are that will support you to get to the root of those issues, so that you can bring your beautiful awareness to it and say, I don't, that this is not, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not uh, victimizing my body anymore,
mm.
you
Yeah.
know
And it
so
always does. Sorry, go on, sorry.
Well, I was going to say, so you are writing. You are writing. So would you say that a lot of your healing also was coming through your sharing your spiritual wisdom in the writing?
Yes, because I'd never written before. And you know what I connect now? I mean, it's always unfolding, but as a child, I was very chatty when I was very young, and I know I was very connected, and then I shut that down just because of it's no blame or anything, but it's just the system and the family that I chose to come into. So I know I shut that down. There was a big issue around my voice. Won't go into all of that, but I know that's been the journey for me, is finding my voice again. So writing but was actually a very safe way for me to start. And it was through, I say to people, when I came through and I settled into the diagnosis and the relief, what started to happen was a breaking open. I sort of talk about that. We talk about our breakdowns. I felt this breaking open happened, and it was just magical. Like, I just felt I had to take my hands off the steering wheel. I don't know, many times I said I've been trying to control my life, and at some point I just went, can't do it anymore. And you have to reach a certain point, don't you, where I just couldn't. And in that, I was living alone. I sort of let go, and I sort of moved into a space of, I just asked for help. And very quickly, in the transition, I won't go through all of that, but in the transition out, which was quite difficult, a lot of women I know relate to that. You're held in the system, whether you like it or not. It is the system, that was the system I chose to go into, as well as doing holistic work. But coming out the other side, you're in this transition, and it's very difficult. So, but I knew there was no going back, and I asked for help. And straight away, I always say this to people, you were shown the next step. You were always shown the next step. We're not shown down the road. This is how we co-create. And a woman appeared in my life. Basically, I did a course called The Artist's Way, the book by Julia Cameron, which I'm
Yep.
sure yeah. And through that, she ended up saying to me, have you thought about writing? You keep talking about what you're learning and the gifts and how it's changing you. And I can see it's changing you. And no, I can't write. I went home and I just was guided over to my laptop. I opened it and I wrote for 6 months, and that's how this started. And so that was the start of the healing, and it was very safe. I'm finding now I'm talking about it like we were talking about interviews, because it's another stage of finding my voice. But I needed to do it sort of safely in a way, because it's very personal. It's the first time I feel in my life I'm really revealing who I am. It's very it's fantastic to do, but
It's also scary. It's
yeah,
also scary
yeah.
because the reason why it's scary, this is what I'm feeling, is when you had the suppression before, and there was clearly voice issues where that was also not allowing the energy to come through the voice and feeling afraid. It's possible, right, that you lost your life many times in many lifetimes where you were actually speaking your truth and where you were actually in your medicine, you were actually healing people, but because you were speaking your truth and being out, you got killed. And
Yeah.
so then that cell memory is in the body. That cell memory must, at this stage in our evolution, must be neutralized, because we're here for this. We're here for this. We're here to clear all of the past traumas, because we are in a brand new time and era of, living beyond the human condition.
Yeah.
Right? Living beyond the human condition. And that is not, we're not going to be carrying on the dis-ease and all of the traumas from the past, because we're too awake. We're
Yeah.
too aware. We're too in the know. There's too many of us now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, no, this is what we came for. So the fact that you were using now, you are ready now to reveal to yourself. And I understand the part about the writing piece. That's why I asked you earlier, were you receiving healing through your writing as well?
Mhm.
And then you just broke it down and
Yeah.
said, yes, you did,
Yeah.
because that is where you revealed your voice, your feelings matter. And that's
Mhm.
when you became your own healer through all the things, and then put it in a beautiful book so that others can read the story. But first, you had to approve of it.
Yes. And it took time, Cornelia. So it's very interesting. It was the first book I'd written. And then I brought it to a publisher in Galway, and they suggested I write fiction, which was really strange to me at the time in 2016. So writing fiction, I've just written my story. So I went on a very odd journey, but I understand it now. And I did publish. I did. I said, okay, I'm going to give it a go. And I wrote what you call fiction, but it isn't really. It's a book called The Tapestry of Life, and it's about the power of community, and it's about three women and how they weave in and out of each other's lives, and how, this is how we make up the tapestry that is life. So I wrote that, and then I ended up coming back, and I launched it and published. I ended up coming back to this as we went into lockdown in 2020, which is really interesting. So I had time and space, which I needed, and healing and processing. But also, I feel it applies, and I didn't intend it, but I believe it applies, as we say, collectively or individually. We know we're going through a collective devastation now as well. And there are gifts. So this can be an individual journey, but it really brought it to another level, because I was writing it while this devastation, which I understood what it was at the time. I knew it from day one, this is what's going on here. This is crazy. But I sort of I could use that, and I think I've met many people since who around 2016 had a big devastation in their lives. It's interesting. I know we've had devastations before that, but it's a really sharp awakening, because I really believe it was preparing us for now. So, we're all going at different stages, and there are people who are awake 30 years. But I sort of knew it when 2020 arrived. I said, there's a reason why this hasn't been published before now. I mean, I wasn't ready, but I think the world either wasn't, and you don't know. I suppose it's still too early for me. People said, this is not a difficult part. It's a wonderful time, but it's also you're letting it go. And sometimes you have to let it go. You cannot control what that is going to do or not do in the world. Whatever its journey is, and whatever that book, whoever it's going to reach, is sort of out of my hands.
And really, this is the time. This is
Yeah.
the time because you were doing it now. And you were putting all the pieces together. But you really helped us today again by reaffirming that we need to let go of the wheel. We're not in control. And we're not in control. This is something important for us to remember right now, especially during this eclipse time, during the uncertain time of not knowing what's next. We don't know what's next, but what we do know is that up until this point, we have been held and guided by God, by the universe, by whatever your faith is. We have been guided, we have been held, and we are carried, and to remember that we will continue on being that way as long as we let go of the wheel of trying to be in control, that it has to be your way because you have to have it from a place of the ego will. But if it is in divine will and your will is in alignment with God's will, the will of the divine, then it's all good.
Yeah.
It's all good because if that's the best way to really look at where am I trying to control this, or is the divine in leadership here? And that's the really a good place to look at where you are and let go. And if you're holding on for dear life right now, is the perfect time to say, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to keep doing this, right? We've been there many times of, having to completely surrender, being exhausted,
Yeah.
of trying to control it because there's something so sweet on the other side. The gift
Oh,
that's
yeah.
on the other side. We can't even tell you about it because you
Mm.
have to experience it
Yeah.
yourself when
Yeah.
what happens when you let go.
Absolutely. And the suffering, when I think of, we all, I know I chose the path I went on, and there's no judgment, and it is what it is, and it had to be. But, for anyone, as you said, at the time we're in on the planet now, I just think the more we try and control, it's just going to get harder. The energies that are rising. And I listened to someone last night and they were talking about the heat, did a beautiful analogy of wearing all these coats, layers and layers of our conditioning, our programming, our traumas, everything we're holding on to. And then the heat, it's getting hotter because the frequency is rising and rising and rising. And the coat is getting really heavy and hot. Are you going to start taking the layers off, or are you just going to really suffer and prolong it? And I just think, even as you talked about with the eclipses, I think it's no accident we're talking today as well. It's, isn't it? It's just, I feel we're really heading into some period in the next few weeks, aren't we?
I'm so excited
And
about it. All I
yeah.
know is that I'm really excited about it. We've been, my awakening was happening back in 2007 and 8. That is when I began. So for me, at this stage of the game, I'm like overcooked.
I'm sure.
I
I'm
mean,
sure.
I'm like, okay, now, so I'm at this stage of the game. I've witnessed a lot of things go, over the last since that time during but the very accelerated, very intense,
Mm,
lots of clearing, lots of trauma release, lots of work. So, and you know, that's why I can talk to you about we are here to live beyond the human condition because that part has been released. And,
mm,
you mentioned the word suffering.
mm,
Suffering is a choice.
mm,
So we can say, even use this eclipse right now to say, I'm done suffering. I am done with that program. I am done suffering. I'm not signing up for that suffering anymore. That is not something that's going to be part of my new life. Certainly, that would be one thing to sign on to, and then the other thing is to not make yourself the person that is taking on the suffering of others,
mm. Yeah.
because a lot of women have done this because they don't want to they sacrifice themselves. That's part of that Piscean age that we just closed, that cycle of
Mm,
the little lamb. um,
wow.
and during that time we used to sacrifice ourselves so that other people wouldn't have to suffer and all of that. No, because we have empathy.
Mm,
I can be with you in your suffering, and I know that I'm not talking about you personally,
I know.
one. Yeah, I can be with you in your suffering, and I can totally empathically feel what that's like because I understand. But that doesn't mean I'm going to take it on and make it mine.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. And that's been a big lesson for me because, as you said, the breast cancer is no accident. It was in the breast. I had no sense of boundaries at all. I am Piscean, so I sort
Oh,
of was, yeah,
oh,
no boundaries, as you can,
oh my God, that is,
yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God.
So that whole sense of self and finding that has been because I never knew it from a very young child. It was just like, yeah, the sea of everything, of emotion, of everything. So as a result, I understand it now. I feel I shut down quite young. I was still not completely shut down, but on some level I did because I had no connection. If anyone asked me, what do you really enjoy? I found it really, I remember being younger going, I don't really know. Like I was that disconnected from myself. I used to wonder why do I not know what I like and what I'm good at and what I'm passionate about? How come other people know it and I don't? It was really interesting. And that's been a great gift of this time. It's like, I feel like a child again.
Oh,
It's just,
you are
that's,
you are the divine child, and really to be loved by a Pisces. Once a Pisces returns back to their original essence of unconditional love, first for themselves, then
mm,
giving it out. Giving out from
mm,
their overflow, not from their depleted state.
mm,
You had to put yourself into the equation, and that's what the Cancer did, and that's what the wake up call with hitting the wall and all of
mm,
that did to bring you back home to yourself. And I love Pisces people. I have been loved by Pisces people,
mm.
and I tell you what, their love is just absolutely, their capacity of that unconditional love that Pisces represents in our sphere is absolutely amazing. And we need that. We need that so much. We need your love. And I appreciate you sharing that today and also coming on the show. I'm curious, Celine, how did you hear about our show?
I heard about your show through my publisher, John Hunt Publishing in the UK.
Huh.
So they have, I hadn't seen your show, but I had been, looking around, and they would have a directory of all of, the sort of mind, they're a mind, body, spirit. So the imprint that I got published with is Obooks, which is their mind, body, spirit imprint. So they would have sort of a directory, I suppose, and of various podcasts and people that they recommend. So they would have done a certain amount of PR, and then I was following up myself, and I came across your show, and just straight away when I saw it, I just went, oh yeah, I'd really feel it's a good fit, and I'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, I really feel like this was a divine appointment. And also,
Mm,
Celine, I want to, first of all, let's let the audience know show us your book. Do you have it by
I
your
do.
side?
I'll show you the cover, so I hope it's a very uplifting
Look at,
sunflower. And I picked that for, the sunflower is beautiful. It grows towards the light. It's just joy. There's so many reasons. I wanted it to be an uplifting cover as opposed to, because you're talking about devastation and
yeah,
challenge.
yeah, it's beautiful. That color is amazing. I mean,
Isn't
so
it?
good.
And isn't it interesting when you talk about the voice and the throat? I'm always aware of that with the throat chakra,
Oh yeah,
the
yeah, yeah,
turquoise
absolutely.
and
Yeah.
then and the
The
yellow.
color reminds me, it's just, again, it's a very healing color. The blue, it's a very, the sunflower is the power in the solar plex,
Yes, yes,
right? It's that
yeah.
yellow, and then the blue, again, it's very healing, very nurturing, very calming, very dolphin like.
I hadn't thought of that. Yeah, dolphin like. Yeah.
Dolphin like,
And
the
then the center, I love the center, that sort of sacred geometry when you go
oh
into the
yeah,
infinite. I
yeah.
love that when you look at the center of the flower. And there was loads of synchronicities as to how the sunflower showed up and why it's the cover. I won't go into all of them, but I just kept seeing them. People kept, somebody gave me a sunflower. I knit a lot, and I was in a shop, and there was patterns everywhere of sunflowers. Like literally, it just kept coming at me. So yeah, I just knew the sunflower was
Now,
the
is that book on Amazon?
It is. So it's on Amazon, it's on Book Depository. I've also narrated and recorded an audiobook, because when you talk about the voice, that became quite an important thing for me. So that was another layer of healing. I went back and I sat for about 3 months earlier this year, and I narrated the whole book. So, and I recorded it. Um, so I have a website. So the audiobook I'm selling direct, but I am going to put it on Audible, but I'm selling it direct. And then the book itself is available through Amazon, Book Depository, Barnes and Noble, all of the links. If people go into, I don't know if you have my website, or I can give you the links. I have a
So
link tree.
here's the way that we do this is that,
Okay.
so first of all, you and I need to be friends on Facebook.
Yeah.
We need to be friends on Facebook, because what happens, like right now, this is transmitting live on Facebook, and
Yes.
it's also transmitting live on YouTube. So at the
Yeah.
same time, it's going live.
Yeah.
Now we're taking this particular show next week, and we're putting it in our uh, uh, audio base at TTR Network, which is Transformation Talk Radio, and then it's going to go to 50 plus media outlets.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's amazing. I had no idea.
So yeah, you had no idea that you just
No.
came online. You had no idea. So what we want to do is, when you see this video on my Facebook page, then please go underneath the comments and put the audio links and put all your
Okay.
links there.
Okay.
And
Perfect.
on the YouTube channel, when you're at my
Yeah.
YouTube channel, and all of those people that are listening today for the first time, when you're at the YouTube channel, please subscribe to the channel so you don't miss important, beautiful conversations like this, because we're raising the vibration on the planet
Yeah.
by sharing our experiences, and we appreciate it. The other
And
thing,
sorry, Cornelia, I have a YouTube channel as well, so I can also share it there as well. So I think I subscribe to your channel, but if not, I will. But I can
okay,
also as well, yeah, and I
yeah,
I have a YouTube channel, so I can put it there too.
you should also put your YouTube channel in. Put all the links underneath this video on my
Okay.
Facebook page, and
Okay.
you put them all there, and go ahead and do that. And then the other thing is, I am going to publicly now invite you. You must come, and of course you don't have to, but you must come to my beautiful community of mastermind. And first of all, have a mastermind community. You would be so great in that community. Now, these are all world-class practitioners, healers, coaches, small business consultants, podcasters, people that are in my community that have been with me for the last few years. They're in my mastermind. They all have podcasts. I help entrepreneurs grow their brand through video marketing, audio marketing, podcasting worldwide. So I have an entire mastermind community that I'd like to invite you into. And at the same time, I feature all of those people in my app, which is called the KS Media app. Those of you that are listening to this video here, please download the KS Media, MEDIA group app from your app store or from your Play Store. Download it, because what you're going to get in that app, you're going to see interviews like this. You're going to also have access to the people that we endorse worldwide, so that if you're looking for healers, if you're looking for coaches, if you're looking for experts in your field of expertise, you don't have to go looking all over in this worldwide web. You can just come to a source and a place that you trust, because we have the world's best in their field, people that are authentically walking their talk. That's one reason for using the app. Another reason for using the app is to answer the universal question with us every single week. Last week, we posed the question of, what is your superpower? What is your superpower? Now, who in your life asks you this question just out of the blue, right? What is your superpower? Then we want you to go to the app and go to the directory and find the universal question, answer the question in your own private journal in our app, and answer that question on what is your superpower. Only you can see the answers to that. But what's so great, just like we opened the show today with Celine when she said, I'm revealing my gifts. I'm really stepping into my gifts. She knows what they are today. She has the tools in order to be able to navigate these incredible times that we're in. She's cultivated the tools through the gifts of devastation that she found herself in. And so if you're in a space like this where you're like feeling like, you can't anymore, or you're dealing with devastation or loss, don't give up, because there is, the gift lies within. And there's many people out here that have faced these kinds of things that are here to support you. And one of them is Celine O'Donovan here. I love that you wrote that book and that you found me and came on this show. And I definitely want to have further conversation with you about coming into our community. And there's a whole podcast world there. So interview galore and all the wonderful things. So what is it that you want to leave the audience with today?
Well, I just say to the audience that whatever, if you're struggling right now, whatever you're going through right now, whether it's a major devastation or you're just feeling maybe a little bit burnt out, you don't know what's next, all of these questions, if they're coming up for you and you're finding it, I would just suggest that you stop for a moment. You have to feel and go through whatever it is you're going through. But then if you can just ask yourself, what if this is happening for me, not to me? Because that was the big shift for me. What if this is happening for me to get me on my path, into my purpose, to connect me with my true self so I can go on and discover and cultivate and share my gifts with the world? Because that's why we're all here. We're all here to shine brightly as the light that we are, and we have to let go of all these layers of programming and everything. So even if you can just reflect on that. I'm not dismissing or trying to diminish any challenge you're going through, because we have to go through and honor it. I have to go through and honor every, and heal all of that pain, and it's still ongoing. But at the same time, you can be asking, what if? And once that switch sort of clicked for me, I think there's a divine timing for it. Once the light switch went on, it just started to change everything. There was a blossoming that started to take place, as well as the healing. So yeah, if I can just leave the audience with that, just to reflect on that, because I think once you start to shift perspective, everything starts to change. You see things you never saw before.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. And the other thing that I really love is what you said in your bio. Her mission is to create personal and practical epiphany moments that allow her readers to discover this for themselves.
Yeah. And that's what I hope with the book. I don't claim to have all the answers. I say that to people. I'm sharing a story. I'm sharing my experience. And my only wish is that it may prompt you to go on that journey for yourself, because it's unique for each of us.
It is.
Yeah, and I don't have anyone's answers, but there are broad solutions, as you said, and tools, and we just have to, we sort of, figure those out and how they apply to us uniquely and how we use them.
Yeah,
But
I
yeah.
always like to leave the audience with a strong call to action. So one is to just do what it is that you asked people to look at right now, the perspective.
Mhm.
What is this situation doing for me instead of to me?
Mhm.
And that's a really strong call to action. And while you're there, take a look at the beautiful gifts that we shared with you today, so that you can discover what's true for you and what's important to you. So it's an honor and a pleasure to always come to you and be with you.
Mhm.
Thank you so much, Celine, for being here.
Thank you, Kornelia.
Yeah, it's wonderful to meet you. So everyone, I'm going to close this show now, and then you're going to see me live today at 12 noon at Transformation Talk Radio for 2 more podcasts that we're doing today with the stories of hope. So thank you so much for listening and tuning in, everyone. We'll see you again very soon. And we'll see you then. Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.